So my flight landed yesterday in Mexico. The family is on vacation. My wife and a couple of her little siblings and the step parents all took us out to Mexico. I don't know if you guys can see through the
Oh, there's
there
the
you
palm
go, the
tree.
palm
Very
trees and
nice.
the ocean, right? And
Uh-huh.
the flight lands, buddy, and I check Twitter right away, and Chris Bassitt signs with the Blue Jays, 3 years, $63 million, and I'm like, oh my god, they actually did something of substance. And my wife's like, oh, you're gonna podcast, aren't you?
Just a massive eye roll.
I
Amazing.
feel like when you have a dog and you don't walk him properly and he gets all like squirrely, this is
Oh,
like,
yeah.
she's like, okay, go talk Blue Jays so that you're not super annoying all day long. So
Yeah. Yeah, we call it chasing the laser in my house. So go chase the laser, Scott.
go chase the laser. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm Scott Belfort, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz. And let me tell you, we have had more interaction in the last week than, do you think it's safe to say, maybe ever in walk-off history?
Yeah, it's been a busy week. The addition of the Clips channel has really changed things. Yeah, I'm
Like
gonna have to
hundreds. You
I'm
had
gonna
to
have to
comb through
change
hundreds.
I'm gonna have to change how I do mailbag because I'm gonna have to either start waking up earlier or tracking things better throughout the week. But I wake up, I brew a coffee, I go through the mailbag, all the comments, and there's like 700 new comments for me to comb through this morning. So
One thing this clip channel has showed me is how many different views there are of these moves being made by the Blue Jays. Like, it is just a rainbow of spectrum when it
yes,
comes to it, like everyone's views. And
oh,
uh
yeah,
yeah.
it is chaotic. I love the passion, which is always good. So let's start with this one then. Black and Blue Jays on Twitter reached out and said, "Holy crap, boys! Chris Bassitt to the Jays. That's no joke. Finally, a real legit move." So, how are you feeling
Honestly,
about
and
this?
that is such a great way of putting it, is finally a legit move. This truly does move the needle for the Toronto Blue Jays. They really desperately needed to replace the production that Ross Stripling provided last year in this starting rotation. And I know that we were getting nervous, and not just us, the fan base in general. There hadn't been a lot done, which is funny to think about, because what is it? Like, it's not even December 15th yet,
Yeah,
especially if you look back on the last couple of years and how slow the market moved. But things have been moving. So, as fans, we're sitting here watching the rest of these AL East teams add huge free agents, spend big bucks, and it kind of felt like we were getting left in the dust. But man, Chris Bassitt is a huge acquisition. If you look at the money too, I don't mind that at all. 3-year term, 34-year-old. But his sinker is probably the best sinker that this Toronto Blue Jays team has had on staff since Marcus Stroman.
yeah.
It is hard, it darts away. And if you look at the since 2020, best sinker by run value, it's Sandy Alcantara. Number 2 is Chris Bassitt.
Wow, it's a good sinker.
Another thing that really should play well with this Toronto Blue Jays team is Matt Chapman is a freaking stud at third base. And Chris Bassitt induces
So many
almost
ground
more
balls.
ground balls to the third base side than anyone in baseball. And we're not talking rockets up the third baseline, right? Like Kikuchi
Hmm.
would do. We're talking ground balls. And this is something that Matt Chapman excels at. I'm really excited. I think it's a great piece to add to this rotation. I hope that they're not done, but if they add a fifth starter, buddy, like pushing Kikuchi to the bullpen and him being our sixth available starter when, knock on wood, if bad tacos happen to appear for a month or so,
Yeah.
I feel so much more comfortable than trying to fill that fifth spot with Kikuchi or Mitch White. And the addition of Chris Bassitt puts this team a lot closer to just that.
Yeah, I like it. I like that it's a 3-year deal. A lot of the pitchers we've been seeing, there's just been so many massive deals getting handed out, and I think that this is on an AAV maybe higher than I would have assumed Chris Bassitt. I wouldn't have guessed he was going to be a $20 million guy. But if that's what the market has dictated, so be it. I like 3 years. I think that's great. I think.
I look at this deal too, and I like how the financing fits into this Blue Jays world, right? Like Hinge and Ryu being off the books. I know that he is still a Toronto Blue Jay going through rehab. However, over 70% of his salary has been recouped through insurance. He's a $20 million a year guy and has been for the last 3 years. This is his final year of the contract. So Bassett really kind of fits in there where Ryu was and doesn't really raise the needle on where this payroll's at because he's basically taking Ryu's spot. And I think it was an excellent deal, especially considering there was so much talk that Bassett was after 5 years. So the fact you were able to get him for 3 and maybe just go a little higher AAV than was predicted, which has been the market. Let's face it. Yeah, everyone kind of predicted Bassett around that $17 to $18 million a year mark. He already turned down the qualifying offer, which is a caveat to remember as Blue Jays fans, is that the Jays do lose their second round pick in 2023, but they needed to fill this hole. And
this isn't a team that needs draft picks right now.
It's not. And I would love to hear, I know this is mailbag, but I would love to hear what everyone thinks about this signing, because when I saw it, truly, it was relief. Like, that's what I felt. I don't know where you were at, Adam, but I was just like, oh, thank God there's going to be another starting pitcher that can carry some weight.
It really stabilizes things.
Yes, great work.
This is not Rodon. This is not DeGrom. This is not Verlander. But this is a rock solid piece that fewer games started by Kikuchi is a good thing.
Right? This is a solid number 3. This is a guy who in almost, obviously there's exceptions like the Mets and the Astros, but in almost any starting rotation would be your third starter. So great acquisition.
Nice thing with the 3 years too is that does time nicely with Bo and Vladdy's free agency. They are free agents in 3 years, so by the time we are going to have to pay them, this money's off the books. And I think we're going to start seeing more. I mean, we've already been seeing it with like the Springer deal and everything just seems to kind of line up with that. So I do think that is something that I think Shapiro and Atkins are very aware of. Question though, from me to you, 3 years, was it 63 million?
63 mil, 21 AAV.
Would you rather have Ross Stripling for that?
No,
this is an upgrade over Stripling, you think?
I truly do think that in the long run, this is an upgrade.
Because I know there's a lot of Ross Stripling fans out there, right?
Yeah, yes. Of course.
So I know there's going to be, I mean, even when we signed Kiermaier, there's Raimel Tapia fans who are saying we should have just kept Tapia.
And it's true. I know, like these guys become a member of the Blue Jays, and it's hard not to fall in love with guys. Ross Stripling, especially. I mean, look at his season. He had a career year and saved this organization when Ryu went down. Like, think about how screwed. There's no better word. We would have just been straight up screwed if Stripling hadn't been a viable option in that rotation. Like, wow.
No, for sure. Okay, so Chris Bassitt, upgrade over Ross Stripling then.
I would say so. And listen, Bassitt is 34 years old. He also had a career year last year. However, the thing I like about Bassitt is you look at his career numbers and they're pretty solid. He's done it for years. Whereas Ross Stripling, this is really the first time we've seen him excel as a starter, really the first opportunity he's got too. I would love it if the Jays could still bring back Stripling. I think that is a almost impossibility at this point for the amount of money and years that he would garner.
It's just an interesting comparable to last year, letting Robbie Ray walk away after the season he had, and then going out and spending very similar money on Kevin Gausman. But
exactly,
I'm happy with Gausman. That feels
me too.
That feels like a good decision. So
we'll move on. But one thing I did wish to touch on quickly with Bassitt is that I love how much pressure this takes off Jose Barrios when it comes to a rebound year. Everyone is aware of what's expected of Barrios. Jose himself right? Like it's not like Barrios doesn't feel the pressure and
Yeah.
understand the money attached to his name and know where he is slotted in by this front office in the rotation, which is a solid number 3. So he knows that there's work to be done, but my goodness, not needing to rely on him
Mm-hmm.
is going to help him so
Totally.
much, in my opinion. Yeah.
Totally. Okay, let's pivot from that then. Next one comes in from Choo Charoo. Says, I got a thought here. Are you guys happy if they sign Bo and Vladdy and then literally have no money left for the rest of the team? Rogers is not the Mets or the Padres. We know the Dodgers are probably going to give Otani 60 mil next year, and they'll be up at 300 million for a payroll. But at 200 million, I feel like Rogers is stretched. I'd rather try and run our team like the Rays, but with a bigger budget. And if we simply don't have money left for the top dogs, so be it. Great episode, by the way.
Number one, love the wording of this question because
Yeah.
obviously Adam and I, that's what we're after, is for the Blue Jays to handcuff themselves with mega deals to Bo and Vlad where they don't improve the team at any way.
I don't want to be
I get the
wearing my
sentiment.
Vladdy jersey to a Jays game cheering for Elvis Martinez.
The truth is, I think that the Blue Jays really land somewhere in the middle of this comment where they do have the funds, they do have the money to go out and lock in Vladimir Guerrero Jr., a homegrown talent, Canadian roots, loves the country, has been very vocal about not liking the Yankees. How do Jays fans not fall in love with that? Right? He's good for baseball. He's good for Toronto. I think that there is so much more value to Vladdy than just the money attached to his name and the production he provides. I do think there's going to be a deal that gets done eventually. I sure freaking hope so. And I think if there is a deal that gets done, this front office is smart enough, freaking again, sure hope so, cross our fingers. They have made us doubt in the past, but you know, I truly do believe that if they go big on Vladdy, it's not going to be something where it's just Vladdy and the rest of the team, and now we're a 4th place AL East team for until the end of that contract. But we got Vladdy. I don't see that as success. I don't know how this organization would see that as success. But if those are the options, if the options are sign Bo and Vlad and just lose, or try and find creative ways to win, then yeah, of course. I think both of us, Adam, can say that's the way we want to go. I just want a World Series, guys. I was freaking 10 last time it happened, and Adam was a baby.
Yes, that is certainly true. All right. One last, I guess, comment that kind of ties into this that we'll get to. So from Scott Carter says, sure, they have the money. Rogers is considered the 2nd richest owner in baseball, but that, of course, does not mean they will spend it. And it's just worth pointing out and reminding everybody that, yes, we do have the money, but there is a difference between a corporation owning a baseball team versus Elon Musk owning a baseball team, right? Where
A
egos
billionaire with an
and
ego. Yeah.
exactly, right? So we can't necessarily just put ourselves in a direct shadow of the Mets and go, well, why aren't we doing this too?
And I know we even have a question about the Mets and how much they're spending, which we'll get to. So we won't get too far ahead of ourselves here. But absolutely, the Blue Jays are not the Mets, despite the fact that when you rank these teams by who has technically the most money, the Blue Jays come up 2nd, just behind Steve Cohen. But again, huge difference between Rogers appealing to their shareholders and Steve Cohen appealing to his massive giant ego and dislike of the New York Yankees and his feelings of the Mets should be the premier team in New York. Like a lot that goes into that the Jays, the dichotomy of what's going on with Rogers has nothing to do with it.
Absolutely. Okay, I'll just touch on this quickly and get this out of the way, some housekeeping before we move on to more baseball
Okay.
talk. We did get some comments last week about the clips going out before the full episode went out on the main channel. Some frustration, which was understandable. I didn't think there would be a problem with switching it. So we started putting out the full episode again on the main channel first, and then the clips after the fact. But unfortunately, because we do have an overlap in our audience, the way the algorithm works with YouTube is if it pushes out clips, it pushes them out to our subscribers first. So if all of our subscribers have already seen those clips in the full episode, you guys aren't watching the clips, which is understandable and fine. Everybody
Yeah.
consumes their content differently, but YouTube, the brain of YouTube doesn't appreciate that. All it knows is it pushed these clips out to 500 people. Nobody watched it. So it interprets that as, oh, if even the subscribers aren't watching these clips must be garbage. Let's not show it to the general public. So it just kills our algorithm.
By the way, too, I do want to express our appreciation for all of you out there who enjoy watching this as one long episode, because we're releasing these 45 to 60-minute episodes. And the fact that we have garnered, for lack of a better word, kind of like listeners and community and fans that want to see the whole thing, like, it means the world. But like Adam said, right? It's so beneficial for us,
unfortunately,
to do the clips first.
Unfortunately, we're in 4 years of doing, like, January will be our 4th calendar year of doing the walk-off, believe it or not. And we're at a point where growth and sustainability is the name of the game. We need to get this to a spot where it is profitable. It is certainly not. I'm working this as a full-time job. Scott is working this as a full-time job. My wife is on me to grow our family and have more babies, and I can't do that while we are making the chicken scraps that we are making right now. We need to grow. The Clips channel right now is our best way of doing that. And just here's some boring YouTube stats for anybody that's curious. 2 full years on YouTube. We have about 500,000 views on our main channel. Our Clips channel has existed for about 5 weeks.
Which is incredible, and thank you so much.
We're already pushing, we might be at 600 subscribers by tomorrow, but we've already hit 100,000 views in 5 weeks. So it's like night and day. That is the way we need to prioritize for the time being.
And if it's annoying to you, apologies, but we appreciate you sticking with us and understanding, or at least we hope.
The alternative is that we close up shop and the walk-off dies, and then you're not getting any free content ever. Well, not from us. There's a lot of other great channels out there, and we're aware of that. But anyways, that's something we need to do. So we appreciate the growing pains and you guys suffering through it with us.
By the way, we are working to give options to fix this. I know that our Patreon, and believe me, there's about 20 rabid Patreon that just literally are paying us $4 a month, and they're just doing it to help us grow the channel, basically, because we're not providing maybe the value that we should be. This is something we're addressing come the new year. So all of you in Patreon, believe me, we're going to look after you, and we are going to give everyone else more of a reason to maybe join that, which would include access to the full episode right out of the gate. Yeah. And if you don't want to pay that $4 a month, that's great. We're still going to allow you to watch the full episode for free. You just need to wait 3 hours and deal with the clips being released first.
We really appreciate all of you within the walk-off community. This thing continues to grow and become an animal of its own. It's a little bit overwhelming, but honestly, we love talking Blue Jays baseball and all the interaction that you folks are involved with us. Thank you so much. Discord, feel free to join it. That is always free. The show, or the link is in the show notes. You can follow us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. And if you are watching on YouTube currently and you're not subscribed, we'd really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. All the best, everybody. Cheers.